Could everyone mute for a second? We're trying to figure out this feedback here at the city for City 7 and cable, please. Jess, could you mute? We need everybody muted. We need everybody muted. Because we have to deal with the feedback. Robert, we need you muted. We need everybody muted. Mitch, we need you muted, please. Is everybody, Robert, I need you muted so he can deal with the feedback.
Everybody else is muted, so it's...
Robert. 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 My volume up?
Anybody hear you? Can anybody hear us out there in cities?
Is the host, can you mute him? Brian, is the host, can you mute him?
I need people muted. Can I mute him? Oh yeah, I can I? Where's, there we go.
That didn't quite fix it.
What do you need me to do? Thank you.
will, oh, sorry. Get control real quick.
Okay.
Moving. Let me see here.
Muted.
There we go. That was the one. I think it's the laptop back in the deal. Okay, so then you're Brian?
Yes. Okay. Nice to meet you.
If you give me, I'll just unmute from in there and let you know, but I just need to double check your audio.
Okay.
I've got the video and everything and you're hooked up with the HDMI, so the audio should be there, but I just need to double check.
Okay. Assuming we have more, you're next, right? I'm on. Oh, are you next or no,
I just came in because we had
okay. Well, you know, we probably, I have your name. And you said, oh, I'm not. You want to be over? Here's Roy. Yeah. Seems to be today. City 7 is still working on some stuff. So, hold on momentarily. All right. What? I didn't get a link. Bart, I know Tim's come.
Yeah.
Yeah. You may have to use the mic. Show up. Yeah. So can everybody hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Brian,
Okay.
if anybody was going to be absent today.
My understanding was that, Tim was gonna be here today, so. But, Tim Watkins. And so let's see, we've got two people up here.
Bob's online, right?
What?
Bob Johnson's online, right?
Bob's online.
He said he was gonna do it online.
So we've got Jack. So we have a quorum.
Okay. Just checking.
So the question is whether Tim's gonna show up in the next minute or so, or who's going to chair. I guess it might be easier for Roy, you to do it since you're here. Um,
Well, it came up the green did, but it says talking, Brian Hart, and I
What?
can't hear either. I did put it up there, so green. I'm sorry.
okay. I'm not sure. Was that Rick? Who was speaking a second ago?
No, that wasn't me. No, I don't know who that was.
Okay. So
I think
I
Robert's having trouble with his sound, and so he was, I think, talking to someone else about that.
Okay, this is Jack. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
I hear you.
talking?
yeah, I can
Yeah,
hear you,
Jack.
Jack.
Good.
But we've got Renee, we've got Jack, we've got
I'm here.
Aaron, and we've got Roy. We've got plenty of people. Okay.
Okay.
And we have our applicant here in person, so.
So you got everyone.
I
in
think,
person there, right?
what? Bob is online. So, but I thought since you're here and with the applicant, maybe you should run the meeting. Plus you have the thing to read. So,
Well, that's fine with me.
and you've got the gavel. So I think Roy's going to, run the meeting. Yeah, anytime. Bob?
Yeah.
Jack Lehman?
Yes.
Pardon? The microphone is muted or unmuted. Oh, there. Is it on now? Yeah. Was it muted before? Lean into it. Is that better? One more time, just test it. Test. Is it on?
Somebody ask,
Yeah, I think it
It's
was.
actually very,
Okay. All right. Aaron Roseland? Jack, did you say you were here?
Yes,
And is anyone else here? Roy Brown, I'm here.
Renee is now here, our new, member.
Renee? Are you here?
Yes, I am.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks.
Okay. So. Now, as I recall, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, this meeting was, the case that we had last month, which was 21-99906, is that the one?
Is 05. Although I think we should go ahead and, continue the second case. And just get that vote over.
So, continue to listen.
No, the 08. I can get you another, thing over here. Yeah, Aaron will grab you one. An agenda.
Okay, so, continue. Stay longer. Case number 21-999-05. Marietta, a variance pertaining to the setback standards of lot purposes for accessory building at 2300 South Summit Mill Drive. That was the one that was continued from last month.
Right, and we'd like you to continue the one that's under it.
Continue again.
No, the other one, the new case.
All right, so.
the Dan or outdoor solutions.
Can you, I was just saying, could we continue 21-99908 before we go forward with the other one?
So, case number 21-999-08. Dan or outdoor solutions, a variance pertaining to the fencing standards for the parking of 500 South and 291 Highway. This, do I need a motion to continue this case to the June 15th meeting?
I move to consider case 21-999-08 until the next meeting.
Thank you, Aaron. And do I have a second?
oh, this is Jack.
Second
I'll-
here. Jack and second.
Okay, so, it's been moved and seconded that we, continue this case, number 21-999-08 to the June 17th meeting, so I'll call the roll. If you're in favor, just say yes, or nay, or amen, or whatever. Bob, Jones,
Yes.
Jack, Lang,
Yes. That's what I second.
Jack,
I
think-
vote
I
for
think-
it.
I
Yes,
think you said yes.
okay.
I think
Aaron,
Yes.
And, Renee Freer.
Renee,
you're muted.
Yep. And so are you asking about the first one? It's really hard to hear what you're saying.
Asking about the second case that we're not hearing tonight, the outdoor solutions,
Okay.
continue it.
Yes.
Okay. I've moved myself closer to the mic. Is it working better now, Renee?
Did he ask me a question? I apologize.
Oh, yes. I'm
Okay.
close to the mic. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You've got a lot of echo going on. So, Brian, can you repeat his question to me?
Are you agreeing with, continuing this case, the second case, until the next meeting?
Yes.
And I too will vote yes. So, case number 21-999-08 has been continued to the June 17th meeting. So now we will hear case number 21-999-05. Maria, is it Maria or Maria? Maria. A variance pertaining to the setback standards and lot coverage for section 11 at 2300 South Drive. So would you please stand, well, did you want to show
Well, let us, talk about where we are, at this point. So as real quickly, I'll go through the slides and you can see what we saw last time. Remember, this is where Seminole and Holkey come together, and 23rd Terrace, I believe, and it place or terrace. And he has a three right-of-way or three street-sided lot, which creates setbacks that really cut that back deep into his property and limit his ability to put an accessory building on his property. He has a rather small backyard because of where his house is located. Plus, the garage itself is oversized as far as what's typical in that area. So he had to have a variance because of the square footage for the lack of depth in the backyard, as well as just the overall size of this building. Plus, he's encroaching within about a foot or 2 feet, actually, of the right-of-way of Holkey to the north. So again, you can see how the house is oriented. So the front of the house is facing east, and it faces Seminole, okay? And so, yeah, I've got that. And so this is his revised drawing that he was showing you. And if I go into the slideshow, you'll be able to see it better. So let me do that.
Right.
And it show up on the screen in a larger manner. Here we go. Flip. I did it. There we go.
I don't have anything.
Okay, it's not letting me do the slideshow. Resume slideshow, okay. Okay. I'm hoping you can see this. It's kind of difficult, but you can see the garage is a little farther over than it was last time, because he has that 7.5 foot utility IPL area that needs to be avoided in the east to west setback. So he's accounted for that. So the variance has to do with that the encroachment in the north-south. And as you can see, it's fairly close to that right-of-way line on the north. So again, the variance basically is for an encroachment of 33 feet into what is a 35-foot exterior setback that's required of residential buildings located along collector streets. So,
Mr. Ray, want to come forward and present your new evidence? You can come to this. And state your name and your address, please.
I'm Ron Loretta from 2300 South. New with those. Reason for applying for this is
I can't hear anything.
No, you can see it over there. Okay.
Hey, Brian, is there a microphone or something that somebody can use? Because we're not hearing it virtually.
you're not hearing him at all?
I'm not hearing anything.
I suppose he could speak into my computer. I'll move. You want to sit here and just sit in front of the computer here and speak?
Okay. Through numerous visits with Brian up here at City Hall, trying to get everything possible complied with, I found out I had to apply for a variance because I have 3 side yards and not a backyard. As you can see by the drawing, I assume you can see this drawing that he's been pointing. Okay. On the northernmost property line, it sits 13 foot there from the south edge of Holkey Road. Holkey Road has a 30-foot setback from center line. I've had my property surveyed, so this property line is on. My building is going to sit 2 foot south of my north property line. That was the reason for the 33 foot of the 35-foot variance. On the west side of the property, this building sits in the northwest corner of my lot or property. On the west side, I'm actually 8 foot off of the property line, which gives me 6 inches technically off of a 7.5 foot easement. So I've avoided the easement there. As you can see in that drawing, my property line on the west side borders my driveway in the rear of that house by about 6 inches. So that is my backyard. And this is the levelest spot in my yard. On the south side of my yard, the grade is terrible. The front is level, but I sure wouldn't want this in my front yard, and I'm sure not that the neighbors would like that either. I've spoke to neighbors in the neighborhood. I understand they're one opposed. Everybody else seems to be for it. I've submitted a letter. Letters in. Brian, did you turn the letters? Okay. Approval from neighbors. What I did is went around to everybody who had visual sight of this and sought their approval and asked if they would write a letter to approve of which, and they did, except for the one neighbor on the west side of me. I think he's probably the one that's opposed. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. I get along with the guy. We don't have any issues. I spoke to him and he actually came into my yard and I showed him what I was intending to do and why. And he was all about it, all for it. Said he thought it was a wonderful idea. So if that's the guy that's upset with, I don't know. basically I can answer any questions. There is, the way this building sits, and because of an existing driveway on the west side of the house, I have to throw an offset into this driveway. I have a deck that comes off the back of the house. I've kind of illustrated there. And what I'm going to have to do is there's a set of stair steps on the west side of that deck. I'm actually going to have to remove those and move them around to the north side of that deck, because I have to be able to make that transition to get into the entrance of my building. This building is setting 23 feet from my house, and the reason for that is because of the transition I have to make coming from that driveway to enter it. There's a spot on there that says replace concrete. That concrete has settled. So I thought about mud jacking it. I don't know that it would stay. So I'm going to remove that, and they have to cut alongside that sun deck because there are existing posts that are down in the concrete, and I don't want to leave them sticking up for holes or flush them with the top of the ground. I don't want it to look hokey. I want it to look great. And with that being said, that's the reason for replacing that piece of concrete, and that will match the new drive to the new building to that. And everything should have a level entrance, and it'll be easier to make that transition. The reason for the building of the size is my wife, who wears the pants in my family, she wants a pontoon boat. I've checked into storage. It's astronomical. That kind of expense, I don't want to leave it outside. I own side-by-side, four-wheelers, things of that nature. I have a bass boat. I like keeping stuff inside, out of sight, out of mind, and protected. I have camera surveillance around my property on the house. I will also include that to the shed. It's going to match the house. And I guess from that point on, I can just simply answer any questions you people might have, or if that's allowable.
Yeah. You'll want to not to use this mic, but to use the computer.
Use the computer. So what you'll want to do, or if you can mute yourself on that computer, I think we'll have feedback issue. Once you're muted, then you guys will get that unmute on the computer. And that
I can't hear anything.
Brian, you're muted.
Now,
I can't hear anything on this tonight.
So what do you want to do? These are both off.
hey, Brian, we're getting some really, really bad feedback on our end.
Brian, it appears you're muted. This is Jack.
We're working with the technicians here.
Okay.
So we're going back to
yeah, try that. Because that at least you can at least do that. And then Brian, you might do the translation.
Okay.
So is this working? Can you hear me out there, Bob?
Bob, can you
It's
hear?
still really,
I can't hear anything tonight. It's awful. It's
When
been
folks
really, I can't really hear anything to speak of except for Brian.
Yeah, if folks aren't talking into your computer, Brian, it comes across like an echo, and it kind of layers on top of each other. So we really can't hear anything clearly unless they're sitting in front of your speaker.
Okay. Well, I suppose Roy, you can ask me something, I can repeat what you asked me and I can answer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Would you explain what is different, what you brought that's different from what you had before? We've given you an extra month so that you could double check, make sure that the neighbors, particularly the ones on either side of you were okay, and you're saying that the neighbor to the west, is that the one that has the shed?
I need to clarify something myself, because I got phone calls concerning the neighbors and got the letters. There were actually two people who complained. One is from the letter from the person across the street, catty-cornered to the southwest, and then there was a complaint from directly to the west. The property directly to the west. So there's two people.
That's the adjoining property on.
The adjoining property on the west is a complaint, and then one of the negative letters was from an individual who is southwest across 23rd Terrace. Okay, then the rest of the letters were positive. Okay.
You're saying that 18508 East 23rd Street Terrace, which is the property to the west, are they positive or negative?
They were negative.
They're negative.
The neighbor to the west. And then also one catty corner to the southwest across 23rd Street.
So it doesn't show on this, but it's your
Yes,
southwest.
yes.
So the one that was negative actually has a shed that's in the same position where
Oh, that this one is gonna go?
where Mr. Breda wants to put his. It looks to me like that's in the same.
They're on the northwest corner of his property, right?
Yes, well, I'm directly adjacent to his property, to Mr. Moretta's property. It's the property that has a shed that's
Within a few feet.
very, very close to the property line.
Yes.
Very close to, let's see, that's, what is the road that's just to the north, that's,
That's
the Hopi Road?
Are people hearing Roy?
I think I'm hearing Roy question a shed that's in another yard. Is that what I'm hearing Roy do?
Yeah, he's judging the appropriateness maybe of this shed based upon one that's already in a similar location on the property to the west.
Okay. And I guess what we're talking about, and let me clarify. I think what the proposal is for a large garage in the entryway home of a neighborhood, not a shed in the back corner. Is that accurate?
Correct. That's correct. That's correct. It's a 36-foot deep garage. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Which
So
is-
we're talking about two different sizes of buildings, and two different homes, one of which has a privacy fence around it, and one of which does not. And I would imagine it wouldn't matter with the size of dwelling that he is proposing putting there in the entryway home of the entire neighborhood.
So, yeah, I mean, that
Yeah.
you did describe the difference in the properties. Yes.
Yes. And the difference in the buildings we're talking about is kind of apples to
Correct.
oranges or apples to grapes. Yes,
That's your
I-
statement.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's exactly just, yes. So I think that's what I'm hearing Roy say.
Yeah, I agree, and the proposed line is much larger than the shed.
This is my working.
Did you hear Aaron, everyone?
No,
No.
We did.
Okay. Yes?
no.
No.
Can you, can you,
I'll try to, can you hear me now? If I talk really loud?
okay, we're in the process of trying to get this fixed, so.
Oh, my God.
I can repeat your statement if you'd like to state it.
I was agreeing with Renee that the proposed building is much larger than the shed that's adjacent to the west.
He was agreeing with you, or agreeing with Renee that the proposed garage is much larger than the shed. So he was agreeing with your comparison issue.
So I'm the neighbor you described that has a concern. Is there the other neighbor that has a concern about it? Of course, as Ron stated earlier, it has nothing to do with the people involved. Everyone gets along quite well. But the concern is with the size, the location, and the fact that one of my greatest concerns is what a structure like this in an entryway home can do to an entire neighborhood. And having spent a lot of years serving the Independence community, I know that keeping our neighborhoods as nice as possible to attract new families to our communities, that's important. And unfortunately, where this home is at, there really can't be a worse place for a structure like this to go up, because it's the entryway to the entire neighborhood. So he has a showpiece home. And so unfortunately, that's one of the greatest problems. I'm not certain what it would do visually to the safety of coming in and out of the neighborhood either. So that's another concern that has occurred to me as we go on, but certainly not a people issue at all, but a concern with property value and overall keeping Independence community at the best as we can, at top notch for attracting new families.
I just have a question here. Are we still questioning the applicant, or have you all gone into a discussion between each other?
I apologize.
Chairman,
I guess.
are we questioning? Okay, you got a question for the okay. Can you come in? They still have questions for you.
Okay. Can I answer Renee's question?
Sure.
Renee?
Hello, sir.
Yes. Have you seen the flags there in the yard? As you sit at that intersection facing north, if you were to look to the west, you can see the top of the hill there on Hokie with that building in place. I have 2 peach trees in the yard, which when they're leaved like this time of the year, are more of a hindrance for sight coming in there than the building's going to be. And those trees are going to get removed as far as a safety factor. As far as a neighborhood eyesore, it's going to match the house. There'll be new concrete leading up to it, unlike the property to the west. That's been, 2 of my neighbors actually said they would love to have me put that there so they don't have to look at that. So, I mean, in defense of what it would look like sitting there, I have the yard flagged with the white flags as to where it would sit. Does that make sense?
It does, and I'm glad to hear that it won't be a visual.
Yeah. No, this building will have 10-foot sidewalls, and with the slope of the land, actually, and I think you can see it from this picture. I don't know that everybody has it, but the grade elevation difference down to the west side of my property line, I bet you is 12 to 15 feet elevation difference.
What is the elevation difference between Oakview Road and your main elevation?
That is why I've stuck it on that side, is because that's the flattest spot in my yard. It's very little slope there. And with that in mind, the city has done a catch basin down in the bottom. And what I'm doing with this building and the way I'm building it, and I'm gonna fill that bottom side here, there will be no watershed change whatsoever that flows down through that. Because there is a considerable amount of water that comes down that hill at times. And I don't want anything washing my building out either. So the existing slope of my yard, if this makes sense, on the east side of the building, my pad will sit 3 or 4 inches above grade there, concrete pad. I'm going to fill the west side of that, bring in fill dirt, compact it, and then taper down just as the rest of the side yard is to the south of my
As far as the location, I was not here last month. As far as the location is concerned, would you explain the location in relationship to those 2 trees that are just north of you?
Those 2 trees. I don't have them on this drawing. Okay, those are the 2 peach trees. They're both coming out. And the building will sit no closer to the road actually than the furthest south peach tree, if that makes sense.
Where is the building in relationship to those 2 trees?
You have to speak directly.
Oh, I'm sorry. It covers one, and let me see. It is just south of the northernmost peach tree. Does that make sense? Of the trunk.
So this is what normally happens with this board, that when neighbors have issues, we say this, when neighbors don't have issues, and the board feels that it's not in any way detrimental to the neighborhood, usually the variance is passed, the request for variance is passed. In your case, we have 2 neighbors that were objecting, and once this is denied, can they hear me? I don't know. Anyway,
Yes.
would you,
I can hear you.
They said yes.
no?
They said yes.
I can't hear.
Okay, so you have to have 4 affirmative votes. Otherwise, this goes, he can't apply for how long again?
A year.
A year.
A year.
So you might consider, because of all what's going on here and your neighbors, you might consider continuing this again, because there's no guarantee you're gonna get a yes vote. And I know you continued once before, but perhaps you can modify your design and maybe get the neighbors on board. That's the issue that we're.
Okay. Oh, that's causing me great scheduling issues, which this extension already did. If I brought that down to 24 by 30.
Explain the dimensions, the 24, which,
24 is the width of the building, 36 was the length. And that puts it 15 feet or so from the edge of Holkey Road. If I take 6 more feet off that building, it puts it 21 feet from, and pretty well centers it in that location of my yard and Holkey Road on the north side. If I would bring it down to 30 feet, 24 by 30, that'll be a considerable. If there's any concern to go, to look up the street to the west up Holkey, which I've actually sit in a vehicle at that intersection at Holkey and Seminole and looked past the building and still see the top of the hill. It's not a traffic hindrance. It's not to be an eyesore. The yard on the west side of my property is, but that property is also bordered by a tree line, and the people from the southwest, depending on where they're at in the area, they are also bordered by that tree line. For the most part, they can't see the building from their house. It's probably what they're looking at is when they go out Seminole to the approaching intersection of Holkey, but you still have plenty of vision as far as safety is concerned. You have more vision that way than you do looking up the hill to the east. Up the hill to the east, there's trees, there's a hill, there's and people come flying. I'm sure Renee can attest, people come flying down through that road. We hear them all night, every night. But it doesn't hinder traffic flow, traffic sight, anything like that.
I understand. I think that issue has been answered. The question
Okay.
is the distance now to Holkey Road. What is the variance request north-south? If you drop it down 6 feet, what would that variance request be, Brian?
Well, the request was for 33 feet, so it'd be 6 off 33. 27 feet encroachment into the required setback.
Still big.
And again, that's not from the road, that's from the setback.
From the right way or from the setback of the right?
I mean, the setback, 33, the setback, right now, what he's requesting now was, I mean, in the report you have, is 33 feet encroachment
Into the setback.
into the setback. If he got the additional 6, you could take 6 off of that.
Do we know how far that the shed to the west encroaches into the setback?
I don't know, but my guess is it's probably another 2 feet farther back than what he was asking. So if he's asking for 6, he would be a lot less then. Or not a lot less, maybe less, and then probably then.
So you imagine that or guess that what he's now proposing is farther to the south than the shed to the.
No, it's farther to the north right now.
No,
It's also farther to the south, it's both, because of course it's bigger. So,
if he moves this building, if he shortens this building 6 feet, would it be, would the northern part of that building be south of the northern part of the shed to the west?
I believe so. I don't know the exact distance of that other one, but I I think if you did in there 6 feet, it probably is.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm curious, first, I don't know if the shed that we're talking about on adjacent property went through this process, but I think what we're talking about it seems to be very different dwellings. A shed is usually a 10 by 10, a small building that can be brought in on a trailer that might be sitting on a concrete pad or maybe just 4 corners of a concrete. And what's being proposed here is a large garage that is 24 by 30. So I'm just curious if the vote yes or no by maybe the board members is being compared to a small shed next door, and assuming that, well, since there's a small shed there, that now we have a new line of what's an okay place to put a large, much more permanent building? Is that what I'm understanding?
We're just looking at, I was just looking at the setback at the moment. I think this shed is bigger than, you know how large that shed is? It was 864 feet. Supposed to be able to.
No, he's talking about your neighbor's shed.
Oh,
I understand.
I'm gonna assume a rough guess. Is this working now?
Let's test it.
Can they hear me?
Yes, it's actually coming in very clear now.
All right, I'm going to test my mic now. Can you hear me? This is Aaron.
I think that shit was
Yes.
Very pretty well. Very well.
our properties,
Can you hear Roy?
because my shed is like.
Mr. Moretta, could you hold on one second while we get
Can you hear me, Bob or Renee?
Yeah, I can hear you now,
Okay.
but,
Yeah, I think we're getting audio now.
Yes.
it's a lot better.
If there's a question of the size of the shed, Robert's home, I could literally go measure the shed. And I can also ask him to join the meeting. I know for a fact that Robert did not know that it would be necessary for him to be here to talk about his shed. But we can certainly get Robert, I would imagine, or we can go measure that shed so you have exact dimensions. In fact, I could actually just take my whole computer over there with me and we could all look at the shed. But I'm asking that question of, are we making it, is that a deciding factor here, Robert's shed?
Yours is 12 by 14. His is,
And that's going away. That shed will leave when I get this.
okay, yours is 12 by 14, then his looks like it's about 16 by 20. If yours is,
It may not be that big, it could be 14 by 16, but it's probably,
so,
I'm guessing, if that helps anything.
well, I think that the concern of a lot of us has been the impact of your proposal.
And another thing I might point out with that picture that was just there. The yellow is the property line. You can kind of see where that building is. And mine was going to sit 2 foot south of that property line. It's now going to sit 8 foot south of that property line. So it's going to sit in even more, if that makes sense, in the yard. Yeah. That shit is pretty tight to the property line. This one here was going to be about that far off, but now I'll go ahead and move 6 foot more in.
You're not being heard because you're not anywhere.
And you can see what, how it hindered any view there. The tree lines here, the tree lines there also hide view of it from those areas per se. I mean, they, in defense of it, I've got I've got equipment I want to get inside.
I'm, just want to give the opportunity that you might want to consider one more continuance where, for example, if we had this drawing that showed where your shed was, the minimum, where your addition would be, the minimum size in relationship to those trees, I think that might help some of us that are concerned about the impact that this would have, particularly because there have been some neighbors that are objecting to it. And this might give you one more shot at getting common consent from your neighbors.
Okay, well, I would need to know which two they were. I'm sure he is the one, because in speaking to him, I asked him for a letter and he said he didn't think he could do that. And so the one to the southwest is a surprise to me. I don't know who that would be.
Well,
Mr. Chairman, if I could too, I think there are two things that you need to keep in mind too. We're not only talking about the setback, but we're also talking about coverage. And I think there are members of the board that some that have problems with the setback and some that have problems with the coverage. And I'm of the latter group. The coverage of the proposed garage is over a quarter of your property, right? And that's why it doesn't meet the conditions for, one of the reasons why it doesn't meet conditions for variance. So on the setback, you meet 5 out of 6 necessary components to have variance granted, but on the coverage, you only have 3. And so I think if you're to review your case, then that's where I would look. And as you speak to your neighbors, because I imagine that's where they have issues as well.
From what I understood, I was allowed like 600 feet with the size of the lot as it is. Okay. And I was asking for 264 more because of the size of the building. But if I drop that to 24.
And real quick, I'm sorry, I said 25%, but it's 15%.
Yeah, I said 30 by 24. I got to turn my phone on to figure out.
You 720 square feet.
I didn't hear that. 7 what? So it's now, that part of the variance was as far as the size ability. Something. What inch?
720,
720.
you reduce it.
Yeah. 120 versus 264 as far as size variance now. And
So-
I've also come off the encroachment another 6 feet.
So the question is, if you want to have more of assurance that this commission will grant you this, it
Okay.
might behoove you to present this again, because as it stands right now, I can't read everybody's mind, but
Right.
this is the concern that I think we had last month, was the impact that it would have. And that's why we asked you to go back and talk to your neighbors. Your neighbors said that one that we were most concerned about was negative about it. So maybe if you go back to him now, if you say I would like to continue this, and we did so, you go back to your neighbor, maybe he wouldn't be as objectionable about it, and you could come back here, and otherwise you're going to wait a year if we don't vote for it.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you
Yeah,
that warning.
I can understand that.
May I ask a question? Who is, I know Ron is there. Who's the other gentleman encouraging Ron to continue this again?
This is Aaron Crossley.
Well, I know Aaron Crossley, I know your voice. The other gentleman that is suggesting that we continue this again so that he gives him an opportunity to talk to the neighbors again. I'm curious who that is.
Roy Brown.
Who?
Brown.
Brown?
Roy Brown.
Okay.
That's who, that's who's on the commission. Roy
I'm-
Brown. He's the one.
Roy, I have a follow-up question, and this is my first experience like this, so I apologize if this is something that's common, but I'm surprised that we were asked to submit information, which we've done, And we've continued the meeting, which I appreciate because there was no way I could join in April. But I'm curious, is it customary for you to encourage folks to continue to go back to their neighbors and ask for permission when they've already said no? That I just, that seems to be unusual, that it's just a continued conversation on and on.
I would put it another way. He's willing to make changes in what he's presenting, and maybe these changes would be more acceptable to the neighbors than what he's proposing now. And rather than just voting him down now, this gives him an opportunity to perhaps create a greater sense of community with his neighbors. At the same time, perhaps meet his needs, not the full extent of what he wished, but as a compromise. That's all I was suggesting, Renee.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
I had a question. I haven't said anything tonight. Does the homeowners in this particular subdivision have covenants and restrictions? And I just wonder if anybody's even talked about that. Because I know a lot of developments, they put in covenants and restrictions to make sure that certain things are not done in that particular development. And so I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just wondering if there was a covenants and restrictions, which means that the person that wants to do this has to meet those covenants and restrictions before he can even do anything. He or she, I should say.
You, applicant, do you want to answer that question?
There is no active homeowners association. I don't know that there was one. No, my goal is to be in compliance.
Yeah.
Many of the neighbors have already violated this. I don't want to. I want to stay within compliance. But no, there is no existing homeowners association or rules and regulations in our neighborhood. to my knowledge.
So nothing's been filed at the recorder's office as far as covenants and restrictions. Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me?
These covenants and restrictions are recorded at the recorder's office. If they're to be like a deed, and if they haven't been recorded, then they're null and void. If they've been recorded, they may still be good. I don't know. I'm not an attorney.
What he's saying is, whether the homeowners association is active or not, there may be some restrictions, restrictive covenants that are filed with your deed. You might want to check. So there's a lot of issues here that you might want to try to read this body and decide if you want to continue this or if you want us to vote. That's all I'm saying.
I have a question I need to ask real quick too, before we continue. And I know there was so much upheaval at the beginning that I might have missed this. I understood that Renee is a new member of the board. Is that correct? Or is she here as a neighbor?
I am here as a neighbor.
That's what I thought. Because the newest member, her name is Sarah.
Oh.
And so I think that that's why I was confused, because I thought that the newest member is Sarah.
Okay, so you're a resident, right?
Yes, I'm a resident. I'd be happy to vote in Sarah's place though, but no, I am a resident. I am not a new member.
Okay, I got you.
That kind of resets our conversation.
Okay.
I probably exposed that when I told her that.
No, I had picked up some breadcrumb clues along the way that maybe we were misunderstanding each other's roles here.
That's okay.
At least you can hear us now.
I will check on this at the recorder of deeds on the covenants and restrictions. I'll check into that too. To my knowledge, there is none recorded. I've gotten plot plans and lot descriptions and everything. There's nothing on it. Okay. The only thing is the setback, which is listed, which we, and the utility units. Those are the only things recorded to my knowledge on this, as far as any restrictions or things of that nature, but I will check what do I look for exactly when I go up there.
Okay. So we should probably, since we now know that Renee is a neighbor, I'm supposed to ask, is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of this request for variance? And so Renee, are you speaking in favor?
No,
Are you
I
just-
am the other person that has been pointed out that sent a letter that I am not in favor of this.
Okay, so she's, all right. So she's speaking not in favor. Is there anybody else that's on this call that's not on the board that is speaking in favor of this? Okay, so we just have 4, I guess. Wait,
How many do we have here tonight? We've got 5.
let's have 4, right?
Correct.
Well,
There's 4
that
members.
makes-
Is all we have tonight?
Okay. So, do you wish
We
to
don't have-
continue this?
We don't have a quorum if there's only 4 of us. Hey,
There are
Roy,
4
we
of
only
us.
have, we just have 4 members. We don't have a quorum.
4 positive votes for this to pass, and I'm, do you want to continue this?
Yeah, I was not aware that I could have people come and speak on behalf. I just
You,
told that I-
that would not be a bad idea, so,
Okay,
that's your request?
yes. Yeah.
Okay, so, we'll just close the public meeting,
We need, yes.
okay, so thank you.
Okay.
So.
May I ask, when will this be followed up?
The next meeting is on June 17th.
Thank you.
And Ms. Spears, we apologize for the confusion in your role here tonight.
I might
Yeah,
need to
well,
run
'cause I
for
thought
this
you-
committee. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my concerns.
Thank you.
Apologize, thought you were the new lady.
Yeah. Yeah, you had us. Hey, Roy,
Okay, so,
Roy,
yes,
Roy,
Yes.
are you there? Also, on any kind of, most generally when you have closing of sales of built houses or whatever, you have they have a closing statement, but you also have title insurance that would refer to anything as far as, covenants, restrictions, easements, so forth, so on. So that way, if it does happen, there's chances are it would be on the owner's title policy itself. It would refer to the book and page and document number. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
that wasn't very, did you hear him? Bob, we didn't quite understand what you said.
Oh, I was trying to mumble, huh? When you close on any kind of a transaction, you always have, normally you have, I don't know, I guess you don't have to, but normally you have what they call title insurance. Title insurance refers to encumbrances, covenants, restrictions, easements, and so forth. And it'll be on his, Mr. Moretta's title insurance policy. It should refer to any encumbrances or documents or what we call covenants and restrictions will be on that title insurance policy, because that's what, when you close on a deal, you get a title insurance, what we call a commitment or title insurance policies. Did you hear me this time or not?
This is Jack. I heard you fine.
Okay, Jack. So anyway. Get some.
Hey, Brian, with that new revelation, is there a quorum? You're muted.
No, it's not me. It's not coming across.
We're legal. Okay.
Can't hear you.
So,
I can't hear you.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you really clear, but now we can't hear you.
no answer.
I can.
Yeah,
I hear
yeah,
you.
we can hear the commissioners now, but we can't hear you, Brian. Barely.
Huh. Wonder what happened.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Roy.
Yes.
Well, we have moved and it's been seconded that we continue this case and we're ready to call for the vote. We have 4 people here, 4 members of the commission, and we're ready to call for the vote to continue this case so that the applicant can make any modifications and answer questions that are not answered. So I'll call the roll. Bob?
Yes, we can continue it. Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So this case has been continued until June 17th, 2021.
That sounds good. Yay.
Business.
Go ahead.
From the last.
Oh, yeah, the minutes.
Minutes.
Okay, does everyone have the minutes of the last meeting?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, if everyone's in favor of the minutes, I'll call the roll. Bob?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
And I too vote yes, so the minutes have been approved. Any more business, Brian? Okay, so this meeting is adjourned.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Roy.
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Turn off.